Dear Heavenly Father, we gather today as stewards of this company, thankful for the opportunity to serve our shareholders, clients, and communities. As we create spaces that define our legacy, we seek your guidance in our decision-making. Grant us the wisdom to not just build structures, but also to foster relationships, trust, and a legacy that endures. Help us make decisions that will benefit all who have invested their trust in us. May our actions reflect integrity, passion for excellence, respect, teamwork, and malasakit. Bless our discussions during this meeting, and may our plans align with your will, leading to prosperity and growth for all stakeholders involved. We commit our efforts to you, knowing that it is through your grace and provision that we can truly create a successful and sustainable future. In your name we pray. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang magiliw, helas ng sinakalan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, kuya ka ng magiting, sa mandulupin, di ka pasisingil, sa nagagang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mong pagaw, ay hinatang tula, kawin sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nagtitingin, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pang ay di magtitingin. Luman ang araw ng walhagin pagsinta, mo'y langit sa piling ko. Ang inigaya ng pagkay mga amin, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Good morning to the stockholders, officers, and directors of the company. I am Carlos Say, President of PNB Holdings Corporation. I have been requested by the Chairman, Dr. Lucio Sitan, to preside over today's meeting. It is now 10 o'clock in the morning. The annual stockholders meeting of PNB Holdings Corporation is hereby called to order. Before we proceed, please allow me to state for the record that this meeting is being convened via remote communication through Zoom application and is being recorded in compliance with the guidelines of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Before we proceed with the matters before us in today's meeting, may I ask our Corporate Secretary, Attorney Carlos Luis Fernandez, to please show proof that our shareholders of record were duly notified of this meeting.
Madam President, in accordance with the revised Corporation Code and the amended bylaws of the corporation, the notice for today's meeting was sent to the stockholders of record entitled to attend and to vote at this meeting, starting April 4, 2025, which is at least 21 days prior to the date of this meeting. Moreover, the notice of this meeting was also posted on the company's website at www.pnbholdings.com.ph. I therefore certify that our shareholders of record were duly notified of this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. We now move on to the certification of existence of a quorum. Mr. Secretary, do we have a quorum for today's meeting?
Yes, Madam President. Based on our tally of those who successfully registered and the validated proxies and powers of attorney on hand, the number of stockholders who are present and represented by proxy for today's meeting are shown on the screen. I therefore certify that a quorum exists for the valid transaction of business at today's meeting.
Before we proceed any further, I request our Corporate Secretary to discuss the rules of the conduct of our meeting today and the voting procedure for this year's annual stockholders meeting.
Madam President, the voting rights of each stockholder and the requirements and procedure for participation and voting through remote communication were summarized in the company's information statement, which was uploaded to the corporation's website and distributed to stockholders of record entitled to attend and vote at this meeting. For the record, let me briefly summarize the voting procedure and conduct of the meeting. First, only stockholders who have successfully completed the registration and verification procedure on or before April 16, 2025 are allowed to participate in today's meeting and are considered present for purposes of determining the quorum. Second, stockholders were given until April 16, 2025 to send us via email at asm@pnbholdings.com.ph their questions regarding the items in the agenda. In the interest of time and for the orderly conduct of business, questions received on or before April 16, which we deem relevant in today's meeting, will be addressed later in the meeting, while the rest of the questions and those sent after the deadline have been referred to the company's Chief Risk and Compliance Officer for a response. Third, stockholders who have completed the registration and verification procedure may vote by submitting their ballot or voting forms to asm@pnbholdings.com.ph on or before April 16, 2025. Fourth, stockholders who were not able to attend the meeting through remote communication had until the close of business hours of April 16, 2025 to send their proxy form to asm@pnbholdings.com.ph. Fifth, we have tabulated the votes cast through ballots and by proxy. The results of the tabulation will be reported later in this meeting. The matters submitted for voting at today's meeting are as follows. First, approval of the minutes of the 2024 Annual Stockholders Meeting held on April 18, 2024. Second, approval of the management report and audited financial statements for calendar year ended December 31, 2024. Third, ratification of all acts, resolutions, and proceedings of the Board of Directors, management, and officers since the 2024 Annual Stockholders Meeting. Fourth, listing of the corporation's shares by way of introduction. Fifth, election of Board of Directors. And sixth, appointment of external auditor. Finally, we wish to remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded in video and audio format in compliance with the requirements of the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Corporate Secretary. Let us now proceed with the next agenda, which is the approval of the minutes of our last annual stockholders meeting held on April 18, 2024. The matters discussed in the previous stockholders meeting were summarized in the information statement made available to the stockholders. Mr. Corporate Secretary, were the stockholders apprised of this item in the agenda?
Yes, Madam President. The minutes of the 2024 Annual Stockholders Meeting held on April 18, 2024, prepared in accordance with the revised Corporation Code, was posted on the company's website and made available to the stockholders. Since the stockholders were fully apprised of this matter, Madam President, we would like to propose that we dispense with the reading and proceed to approve the minutes of the 2024 Annual Stockholders Meeting as appearing in the company's records.
The proposal is noted. We shall dispense with the reading of the minutes of the last stockholders meeting and proceed to vote on the approval of the minutes. Before we tally the votes on this item, can we inquire from the Corporate Secretary whether we received any inquiries on this matter.
Madam President, there were no questions submitted regarding this matter.
Thank you. May we now know the tally of votes on this matter?
Madam President, the tally of votes and validated proxies received are shown on the screen. Based on the total votes received, majority of the outstanding shares of the company represented in this meeting approved the minutes of the 2024 Annual Stockholders Meeting held on April 18, 2024.
The minutes of the 2024 Annual Stockholders Meeting held on April 18, 2024 is hereby approved. Mr. Secretary, let the minutes reflect the voting on this matter. Before we move on to the next agenda, our chairman, Dr. Lucio C. Tan, would like to say a few words. His message will be delivered by Mr. Lucio C. Tan III.
Good morning, everyone. I am Lucio C. Tan III, President and Chief Operating Officer of LT Group, Inc. Allow me to read the message of our Chairman, Dr. Lucio C. Tan, for this year's Annual Stockholders Meeting of PNB Holdings Corporation. Dear stockholders, members of the Board of Directors, management team, and all present today, it is with deep gratitude that I welcome you to this year's Annual Stockholders Meeting. Each year, we gather not only to reflect on our progress, but to reaffirm our shared purpose. PNB Holdings Corporation was founded with a long-term vision to transform our assets into spaces of opportunity, places that uplift lives, spark innovation, and contribute to a stronger nation. As we look ahead, we remain steadfast in our commitment to build developments that are not only iconic in design, but rooted in purpose and sustainability. These efforts are guided by a vision greater than ourselves, one that honors our past while boldly shaping the future. What gives me confidence is not only the strength of our assets, but the clarity of our mission. We are not merely developing properties. We are designing spaces of legacy. We are not simply growing a business. We are cultivating a platform for Filipino excellence. I am proud of the leadership team who continues to carry this vision forward with passion and resolve. Thank you for your dedication and hard work in keeping our legacy in motion. To our stockholders, thank you for your unwavering support and for walking with us on this quiet but purposeful journey of transformation. The work ahead is bold and ambitious, but so is our determination. We will build not just to compete, but to uplift, with purpose, with integrity, and always with the nation in mind. Thank you for your continued trust.
Allow me now to render the 2024 Management Report. The year 2024 was a reflection of PNB Holdings Corporation's stability and resilience. In a dynamic and evolving market landscape, we remained focused on three key priorities: enhancing our leasing services, expanding workspace and venue offerings, and initiating the master planning of our prime redevelopment projects. These initiatives reflect not only the company's operational momentum, but the enduring vision of our chairman, Dr. Lucio Tan, to create lasting value for our consumers, communities, employees, business partners, and you, our shareholders. Our buildings continue to be home to a wide range of thriving businesses and industry leaders, proof of our property's continued relevance and value in today's competitive real estate environment. We believe that by offering flexible, future-ready spaces, we enable our tenant partners to grow, innovate, and lead. This belief guided our 2024 facility improvement efforts at PNB Makati Center and PNB Financial Center. In 2025, we will continue to upgrade our building features, ensuring that our properties remain competitive and aligned with modern tenant needs, especially as new developments rise in nearby business districts. These enhancements are part of our long-term strategy to strengthen asset value and tenant retention. We are deeply grateful to our loyal tenant partners who continue to expand their presence within our buildings. At the same time, we look forward to welcoming new tenants who seek visibility, strategic location, and a premium business address. Beyond traditional office and retail leasing, we have opened our event venues at PNB Financial Center in response to the growing demand for accessible, well-equipped event places in Metro Manila. We also partnered with a global leader in flexible workspaces, transforming the penthouse level of PNB Makati Center into a hybrid workplace, serving both startups and established enterprises and fostering collaboration and innovation. Aligned with our vision to become the Philippines' most preferred developer of sustainable, iconic, and ultra-luxury properties, we began the master planning of two landmark developments, our Buendia and Macapagal properties. We engaged globally renowned architectural firms to help shape these projects into future icons of Philippine real estate. To turn this vision into reality, we continue to invest in our most valuable asset, our people. By the end of 2024, we grew our team to 77 professionals, filling key roles to support both redevelopment and leasing operations. Meanwhile, here are the highlights of our 2024 financial performance. PNB Holdings marked its fourth consecutive year of profitable operations, posting gross revenue of 1.34 billion pesos. Your company remains in a strong financial position, supported by an average occupancy rate of 83% across our combined office and retail spaces in Pasay and Makati. Net income stood at 529 million pesos, while total comprehensive income reached 575 million pesos, resulting in a comprehensive income margin of 43%. Operating expenses reached 180 million pesos, primarily due to efforts aimed at modernizing our current assets, scaling regulatory costs driven by our upcoming redevelopment initiatives, and expanding talent investments. These strategic actions are aligned with our ambitious growth plans. Our EBIT closed at 676 million pesos, and EBITDA remained strong at 850 million pesos, with a 64% EBITDA margin, indicating sound operational efficiency. Importantly, PNB Holdings remains debt-free, ending the year with 50.15 billion pesos in total assets and 49.17 billion pesos in shareholders' equity, affirming our strong financial health and prudent management. The journey ahead presents new challenges, but also greater opportunities. Rest assured that your company is committed to enhancing asset performance and shareholder value, expanding into new growth areas, and most importantly, honoring the legacy we carry while staying firmly in motion toward the future. To our shareholders, thank you for your trust and continued belief in our vision. To our employees and partners, thank you for your dedication, commitment, and passion. Let me end with a thought close to my heart. My father often shares a piece of wisdom from our grandfather, Tanyan Ki. He would say, "Great achievements are attained only through discipline, hard work, and dedication." May these words continue to inspire us as we continue to build on our legacy together in motion. You have just heard the report on the results of the company's operation, which is also reflected in the audited financial statements and the annual report, copies of which were uploaded on the corporation's website. May we inquire from the Corporate Secretary if we received any questions on the annual report and the audited financial statements?
Madam President, there were no questions submitted regarding this matter.
Since there are no questions, let us proceed with the approval of the management report as reflected in the annual report, together with the audited financial statements of the company for the year 2024. Mr. Corporate Secretary, kindly present the proposed resolution and report on the tally of votes for this item on the agenda.
Madam President, the proposed resolution and the tally of votes and validated proxies are shown on the screen. Based on the total votes received, a majority of the outstanding shares of the company present and represented in this meeting voted in favor of approving the 2024 annual report and the audited financial statements for the fiscal year 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Corporate Secretary. With the stockholders owning a majority of the outstanding shares voting in favor of the matter, the annual report and the audited financial statements of the period ending December 31, 2024 is hereby noted and confirmed. Mr. Corporate Secretary, let the minutes reflect the vote on this matter. The next item in the agenda is the ratification of all acts, proceedings, and resolutions of the Board of Directors and management of the company from the date of the last annual stockholders meeting up to the present. As reflected in the minutes of the meetings of the Board of Directors, a summary of the acts, resolutions, and investments of the Board and management for the said period was provided to the stockholders. These acts, proceedings, and resolutions were discussed and approved in the meetings of the Board and its committees, covered by minutes which are on file with the Office of the Corporate Secretary. These minutes were made available for inspection upon the request of any stockholder. We will now address the queries received regarding this item, if any. Mr. Corporate Secretary, were there any inquiries on this matter?
Madam President, there were no questions submitted regarding this matter.
Since there are no questions, may we request the Corporate Secretary to present the proposed resolution and the tally of votes and validated proxies for this item.
Madam President, the proposed resolution and the tally of votes and validated proxies are shown on the screen. Based on the total votes received, a majority of the outstanding shares of the company represented in this meeting approved all the legal acts, resolutions, and proceedings of the Board of Directors and corporate officers of the company from the time of the last annual stockholders meeting on April 18, 2024 up to the present date.
Thank you, Mr. Corporate Secretary. With the stockholders owning a majority of the outstanding shares voting in favor of the matter, all the legal acts, resolutions, and proceedings of the Board of Directors and corporate officers of the company from the time of the last annual stockholders meeting on April 18, 2024 up to the present date are hereby ratified. Mr. Corporate Secretary, let the minutes reflect the vote on this matter. The next item in the agenda is the election of directors for 2025 to 2026. May we request the Corporate Secretary to report on the nominees to the Board of Directors for 2025 to 2026.
Madam President, I am pleased to report that in the meeting held on February 24, 2025, the Nomination Committee approved the nomination of the following 9 individuals as directors of the corporation for the year 2025 to 2026. Dr. Lucio C. Tan, Ms. Carlu T. Say, Mr. Lucio C. Tan III, Mr. William T. Lim, Attorney Eusebio V. Tan, Ms. Shelo M. Salgado, Ms. Elaine Y. Co, Ms. Maria Cecilia Gonzalez, and Ms. Rowena Nazareth. Ms. Shelo Macapagal Salgado, Ms. Elaine Co, Ms. Maria Cecilia Gonzalez, and Ms. Rowena Nazareth are nominated as independent directors. The respective profiles of the nominees and business experience of the nominees to the board can be found under Item 5 of the Information Statement. Also, in compliance with the revised Corporation Code, we have circulated to the stockholders the compensation report of the incumbent members of the board and their attendance record in board meetings for 2024 to 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Corporate Secretary. Can we inquire if there were questions on the lineup of nominees for the board?
Madam President, there were no questions submitted regarding this matter.
There being no queries, may we now hear a report from the Corporate Secretary regarding the votes on this item?
Madam President, we have tallied the ballots and the proxies received, the results of which are shown on the screen. Considering, however, that there are only 9 nominees for the 9 seats in the board, all nominees are effectively elected as directors of the corporation for the year 2025 to 2026. The resolution regarding this matter is shown on the screen.
Thank you, Mr. Corporate Secretary. There being only 9 nominees and all the nominees having received votes in their favor, I hereby declare that the 9 nominees are duly elected as directors of the corporation for 2025 to 2026. Mr. Corporate Secretary, let the minutes reflect the vote on this matter. The next item in the agenda is the listing of the corporation's shares by way of introduction. May we request the Corporate Secretary to provide a brief background about this matter?
Madam President, as a result of the property dividends declared by Philippine National Bank in 2021, 51% of PNB shares in the corporation were distributed or are in the process of being transferred to stockholders of PNB. As of April 1, 2025, the corporation has a total of 678 shareholders, holding a total of 46,932,100,000 shares. Considering that the shares of the corporation are now so widely held that their marketability can be assumed, the corporation is eligible to apply for listing by way of introduction under Article 3, Part G, Section 1B of the amended listing rules. Accordingly, it is proposed that the 46,932,100,000 issued and outstanding shares of the corporation be listed by way of introduction with the Philippine Stock Exchange. This matter was approved by the Board of Directors during its regular meeting held on February 26, 2025, and is now being presented to the stockholders for approval and ratification.
Thank you, Mr. Corporate Secretary. Did we receive any query regarding this matter?
Madam President, there were no questions submitted regarding this matter.
There being no inquiries on this item, Mr. Corporate Secretary, please present the proposed resolution for this item and the tally of votes.
Madam President, the proposed resolution on the listing by way of introduction of the corporation's outstanding shares with the Philippine Stock Exchange is shown on the screen. We have also tallied the votes received as shown on the screen. Based on the votes received, a majority of the outstanding shares of the corporation present in this meeting approved the listing by way of introduction of the corporation's shares in the Philippine Stock Exchange.
Thank you, Mr. Corporate Secretary. Based on the report of the Corporate Secretary, with shareholders owning a majority of the outstanding shares present in this meeting, voting in favor of the matter, the listing by way of introduction of the corporation's 46,932,100,000 issued and outstanding shares is hereby approved, confirmed, and ratified. Mr. Secretary, let the minutes reflect the voting on this matter. The next item in the agenda is the appointment of the external auditor for 2025 to 2026. Sisip Gores Valayo and Company is the current auditor of the company. It has been our external auditor since 2003. Can we inquire if there were any questions at the appointment of the external auditor?
Madam President, there were no questions submitted regarding this matter.
There being no questions, may we request the Corporate Secretary to present the proposed resolution for and report on the tally of votes on this item.
Madam President, the proposed resolution on the appointment of Sisip Gores Valayo and Company as external auditor of the corporation for the ensuing year is shown on the screen. The tally of votes and validated proxies for this matter is likewise shown on the screen. Based on the total votes received, a majority of the outstanding shares of the company cast their votes in favor of the appointment of Sisip Gores Valayo and Company for the year 2025 to 2026.
Thank you, Mr. Corporate Secretary. With the stockholders owning at least the majority of the outstanding shares voting in favor of the matter, the appointment of Sisip Gores Valayo and Company as external auditor of the company for the year 2025 to 2026 is hereby approved. Mr. Corporate Secretary, let the minutes reflect the votes on this matter. Mr. Corporate Secretary, are there other matters arising from the agenda?
Madam President, there are no other matters to be presented.
There being no further business to discuss, this meeting is adjourned. On behalf of PNB Holdings Corporation, thank you for your continuous support. We hope to see you again in next year's annual stockholders meeting. We now request the newly elected directors to join the organizational board meeting through the meeting link and ID sent to your email.